The next morning, Asaba woke before the sun. Market women arranged baskets. Motorcycles buzzed through narrow roads. Vendors shouted prices into the cool morning air, and among them stood Alex. Fresh oranges, sweet pineapple, bananas. His voice still sounded awkward to his own ears. 2 weeks ago, he had been signing multi-million naira contracts. Now he was arguing over 20 naira discounts. Strangely, he didn't hate it. People looked him in the eyes here. Nobody cared about status. Nobody cared about titles. Nobody knew he was Alex Nwosu. And for the first time in years, he could breathe. Across the market, Victoria carried a basket of tomatoes for Mama Mickey. She was laughing at something Zara had said when she heard a familiar voice. Fresh oranges, sweet pineapple. She turned. The fruit seller again. The serious one. The educated one. The strange one. He was helping an elderly woman count her change. Patiently, carefully, as if he had nowhere else to be. Victoria smiled. There was something unusual about him. Not his face, not his clothes, his manner, the way he spoke, the way he listened, the way he carried himself. Almost like, no, impossible. She shook the thought away. Later that afternoon, the primary school interview finally arrived. Victoria sat nervously outside the principal's office. 3 other candidates waited beside her. One looked confident. Another looked experienced. Victoria stared at her worn folder. Her stomach twisted. What if I don't get it? A voice interrupted. You'll be fine. She looked up. The fruit seller stood nearby carrying a small carton, apparently delivering fruits to the staff room. Victoria blinked. You! He smiled. You look nervous. I am. First interview? She nodded. He sat on a nearby bench. You know something? What? The people who usually succeed aren't always the smartest. Victoria frowned. What are they then? The ones who refuse to quit. She stared at him. The words landed deeper than they should have. How do you know that? For a moment, Alex almost laughed. If only she knew. Then he simply replied, Life taught me. Before she could ask another question, the secretary appeared. Victoria Ada? She stood immediately. Yes, Ma. You can come in now. Victoria took a deep breath, then looked back. The fruit seller gave her a small nod. Go. She smiled and entered. Lagos, a dark conference room. 3 men sat around a table. The atmosphere was tense. He vanished. 2 weeks. No sightings. No transactions. Nothing. The oldest man frowned. Impossible. We checked airports, borders, private airstrips. No trace. Silence followed. Then another man spoke. What if he already knows? The room became still. The older man's eyes narrowed. Knows what? About his father. Nobody answered. The silence itself was an answer. The old man's face hardened. Then find him. We're trying. Try harder. His fist struck the table. Because if Alex Nwosu reaches the truth before we find him. Nobody finished the sentence. Nobody needed to. They all understood. Everything they had built for 20 years could collapse overnight. Back in Asaba. Evening arrived. Victoria practically floated home. Mama, Mickey met her at the gate. How did it go? Victoria smiled, then laughed, then started crying. Mama Mickey panicked. What happened? I got it. What? The job. Mama Mickey screamed. My God! Victoria laughed through tears. I got the job. The twins came running. What happened? Cousin Vicky got employed. The compound erupted. Zara jumped. Zita screamed. Mama Mickey hugged Victoria tightly. For the first time since leaving her mother behind, something good had happened. Something real. Something hopeful. At the same moment, across town, Alex sat alone in his small lodge room. A knock sounded on the door. He frowned. Nobody knew him here. Nobody. Slowly he approached. Who is it? Silence. Another knock. His pulse quickened. He looked through the tiny gap beside the curtain. Nobody. The corridor was empty. Carefully, he opened the door. Nothing, just a small brown envelope lying on the floor. Alex's blood went cold. He picked it up, closed the door, opened the envelope. Inside was a single photograph, a recent photograph, taken in Asaba, taken only days ago. It showed him standing beside his fruit stall. Someone had circled his face in red ink. Below the photograph were 6 handwritten words. Found you. See you very soon. For several seconds, Alex couldn't breathe, because this time, the hunters weren't searching anymore. They had already found him. Alex stared at the photograph. The room suddenly felt smaller, hotter, dangerous. His eyes scanned every corner instinctively. Window, door, ceiling, the cracked mirror beside the bed. Someone knew. Someone had followed him all the way to Asaba, his disguise, the bus ride, the lodge, everything. Compromised. Slowly, he turned the photograph over. There was something written on the back. His heartbeat quickened. One sentence. Just like your father, you keep asking questions. Alex froze. The words hit harder than any threat, because they weren't talking about business anymore. They were talking about his father, the murder, the secret, the reason all of this had started. His phone vibrated suddenly. An unknown number. For several seconds he hesitated, then answered. Hello. Silence. Only breathing. Slow. Controlled. Then a man's voice. Leave Asaba. Alex's jaw tightened. Who are you? You survived longer than expected. Who are you? Leave. The line went dead. Alex immediately tried calling back. The number was unavailable. His hands clenched. Fear was there, but something else was beginning to replace it. Anger. For 20 years, somebody had controlled his life through fear. 20 years. Enough. The next morning, Victoria arrived at the primary school early. Children ran across the compound laughing. Teachers prepared lesson notes. The principal welcomed her warmly. You'll start with primary 4. Thank you, Ma. We're happy to have you. Victoria smiled. For the first time in months, she felt useful again. Needed. Hopeful. As she arranged books in the classroom, a student raised his hand. Teacher. Yes. My pencil broke. The entire class laughed. Victoria laughed too. And somehow, that simple moment felt like healing. Meanwhile, at the market, Alex stood behind his fruit stand pretending everything was normal, but his eyes missed nothing. Every face, every movement, every stranger. Then he noticed something. A black SUV parked across the road. Its windows were tinted. The engine was running. The vehicle hadn't moved in almost an hour. Alex kept arranging oranges, watching, waiting. A man finally stepped out. Dark sunglasses, expensive shoes. Not from the market, not local. The man looked around carefully, then walked toward a nearby tea stall. Alex lowered his head. The stranger pulled out a phone. A photograph appeared briefly on the screen. Alex's photograph, the same one from the envelope. Cold realization settled in his chest. They were here, in Asaba, elsewhere. Commissioner Adeyemi sat in his office in Lagos. A detective rushed inside. Sir, what is it? We found something. The commissioner looked up. The detective placed a file on the desk. We reopened some archived financial records connected to Mr. Nwosu's father. The commissioner frowned. And there were large transfers shortly before his death. To whom? The detective swallowed. Several shell companies. The commissioner sighed. We already knew that. Yes, sir. But this time we traced one of them. The room became quiet. The commissioner's eyes narrowed. To who? The detective slid a photograph forward. The commissioner stared at it, then slowly sat back. Dear God! Because the face staring back from the photograph belonged to one of Nigeria's most respected businessmen. A man celebrated for charity. A man trusted by politicians. A man nobody would suspect. And a man who had attended Alex's father's funeral. That evening, Victoria finished work exhausted, but happy. The children already loved her. The principal had praised her patience. Things were finally improving. As she walked through the market carrying vegetables, she spotted the fruit seller again. Alex was helping an elderly woman load a basket onto a tricycle. The old woman smiled. God bless you, my son. Safe journey, Mama. Victoria watched quietly. Most people help when others were watching. This man helped when nobody was. Before she realized it, she was smiling. Alex noticed her. Teacher. Victoria laughed. Fruit seller. Congratulations on the job. Thank you. They walked side by side for a few moments. Comfortably, naturally. Then Victoria stopped. Can I ask you something? Of course. What were you before this? Alex's step slowed. Dangerous question. Very dangerous. Victoria noticed the hesitation. You don't have to answer. He looked away. For a moment, memories flooded back. Boardrooms, private jets, his father, the funeral, the threats, the blood. Then he smiled faintly. I used to have a different life. Victoria studied him. I thought so. What gave it away? You don't talk like a market trader. Alex laughed softly. That's fair. They continued walking. Neither noticed a man standing across the street, watching, waiting. The same man from the black SUV. He lifted his phone, took a photograph. One frame. Alex and Victoria walking together. Then he sent it to a number saved only as Boss. Seconds later, a reply arrived. The man read it and smiled because the message contained only 4 chilling words. Bring him to me. The man slipped the phone back into his pocket. His eyes never left Alex. For 2 weeks they had searched. For 2 weeks Alex Nwosu had vanished. And now they had him, not in a mansion, not surrounded by security, not protected by bodyguards, just a fruit seller in a crowded market, the easiest target he had ever been. The man smiled, then walked away. That night, Alex couldn't sleep. The lodge felt different now. Every sound made him alert. Every footstep outside his door. Every voice in the corridor. He sat on the edge of the bed staring at the photograph. Found you. See you very soon. The words seemed to mock him. His phone vibrated. This time it was Barrister Enejor. Alex answered immediately. Tell me you found something. We did. Alex stood. What? The commissioner traced one of the shell companies. And the lawyer lowered his voice. The company was used repeatedly before your father's death. Alex's pulse quickened. Who owns it? We're still confirming. Barrister. There was a pause. Then the lawyer spoke carefully. The trail keeps leading back to people close to your father. Alex froze. What? Business partners. Friends. Associates. No, I'm sorry. Alex sat heavily. His father's closest circle. The people he trusted. The people who attended family dinners. The people who comforted him after the funeral. One of them may have ordered the murder. The thought made him sick. Keep digging. We are. And Alex. Yes. Be careful. Alex laughed bitterly. I don't think I have a choice. The next morning, Victoria arrived at school carrying lesson notes. Her first week was going better than expected. The children adored her, especially little Chitty, a stubborn boy who constantly asked impossible questions. Teacher Vicky. Yes, Chitty? If God made everybody, who made God? The entire class erupted with laughter. Victoria covered her face. Chitty. Yes, teacher. Please allow me to survive this morning first. The children laughed again. Their joy filled the classroom. For a moment she forgot the debts, forgot her mother's illness, forgot the uncertainty. Life felt normal, and she treasured it. Later that afternoon, Alex was packing up unsold fruits. Business had been surprisingly good. An elderly customer smiled. Young man. Yes, Mama? You have honest eyes. Alex chuckled. I've never heard that before. The woman nodded. Whatever burden you carry, don't let it destroy your heart. Alex's smile faded. Before he could reply, she walked away. The words lingered. Because lately anger was becoming easier than hope. Hatred was becoming easier than forgiveness. And revenge was becoming easier than peace. That evening, rain began to fall. Heavy, relentless. Victoria hurried home carrying an umbrella. Halfway there, she noticed someone standing beneath a closed shop, a familiar figure, the fruit seller, completely drenched, holding several boxes under a small shelter. She stopped. "What are you doing?" Alex looked up, trying not to drown. Victoria laughed despite herself. "You'll get sick. I've survived worse." She shook her head. "Come." "What?" "Our house is nearby." Alex immediately stiffened. Danger. Getting close to people was dangerous, especially now. Victoria misunderstood his hesitation. "It's just until the rain stops." Alex looked at the sky. The storm wasn't ending any time soon. Reluctantly, he nodded, just for a little while. A few minutes later, they entered Mama Mickey's compound. The twins immediately appeared. "Cousin Vicky." Then they saw Alex. Both froze. Fruit seller. Alex laughed. "Good evening." Zara narrowed her eyes. "You're the one always giving motivational speeches in the market." Victoria burst out laughing. Even Alex smiled. "Mama." Mickey emerged from the kitchen. "Who is this?" Victoria answered quickly. "The fruit seller." Alex nearly choked. The fruit seller. No name, no title, no history, just a fruit seller. Strangely, he liked it. "Mama." Mickey welcomed him warmly. Soon he was sitting in the living room eating hot beans and fried plantain. The simple meal tasted better than many expensive dinners he had attended. Laughter filled the room. The twins argued. "Mama." Mickey scolded them. Victoria smiled. And for the first time in months, Alex felt something unfamiliar. Peace. Real peace. Not money. Not success. Not power. Peace. Outside the compound, a black SUV sat silently in the darkness. Rain tapped against the windshield. Inside, a man lowered a camera. He had taken dozens of photographs. Alex entering. Alex laughing. Alex eating with Victoria's family. Every detail. He dialed a number. The call connected immediately. Report. "We found him." "Location?" "Asaba." "Is he alone?" The man glanced toward the compound. "No." "Who is with him?" "A young woman." Silence. Then the voice spoke again. Cold. Dangerous. "Find out who she is." The man swallowed. "Sir, if Alex cares about her." A chilling pause followed. "She may become useful." The line disconnected. The man looked toward the house once more. Inside, Victoria was laughing at something the twins had said, completely unaware. And for the first time, she had just stepped into the same deadly game that had already claimed Alex's father. The rain continued long into the night. Inside the house, laughter slowly faded as everyone prepared for bed. Mama Mickey insisted Alex take a towel. "You'll catch pneumonia if you leave like this." Alex smiled. "Thank you, Ma." No argument. "Yes, Ma." The twins immediately started laughing. "Look at him. He's behaving like a schoolboy." Alex shook his head. "You two are impossible." Victoria watched quietly. For a brief moment, she forgot he was just a fruit seller. There was something about him, something familiar, something that didn't fit. The way he spoke, the way he carried himself, the way people unconsciously listened when he talked, as if leadership was second nature to him, as if he had spent years giving instructions and making decisions. The thought lingered, but she pushed it away. Everyone had a story, and if he wanted to tell his, he would. Later that night, Alex returned to the lodge. The streets were nearly empty. Rainwater reflected the streetlights. His mind replayed the evening, the warmth, the kindness, the simplicity. For the first time since his father's death, he had sat at a dinner table that felt like a family. No politics, no hidden agendas, no boardroom games, just people trying to survive. His phone vibrated. A text message. Unknown number. Alex's heart sank. He opened it. A photograph appeared. His stomach dropped. It was a picture of Victoria, taken earlier that evening, standing outside the compound gate. Below it were 6 words. "Be careful who becomes important." Alex stopped walking. The blood drained from his face. No, no, no. His hands trembled. They were watching her, watching the family, watching everyone around him. And that meant one thing. He had already made a mistake. The closer anyone got to him, the greater the danger. The next morning, Victoria arrived at school early. The children greeted her excitedly. "Good morning, Teacher Vicky." "Good morning." "Teacher, Chitty stole my ruler. I borrowed it." "You broke it." Victoria sighed dramatically. Wonderful. The entire class laughed. She smiled despite herself. This was becoming home. Not the place. The people. The children. The purpose. For the first time since leaving her mother, she felt she belonged somewhere. Then the school secretary appeared at the door. "Victoria." "Yes." "Someone is here to see you." Victoria frowned. "Me?" The secretary nodded. "A woman?" Victoria stepped outside. A well-dressed woman stood near the staff building. Expensive handbag. Expensive shoes. Professional appearance. Not local. Not from around here. The woman smiled. "Victoria Ada?" "Yes." "My name is Grace." "Okay. I'd like to ask you a few questions." Victoria immediately felt uneasy. "About what?" The woman smiled again. "A mutual acquaintance." "Who?" "The fruit seller." Victoria's eyes narrowed. The smile on Grace's face never changed. And somehow that made it worse. Meanwhile, at the market, Alex was arranging oranges when he noticed someone approaching. An elderly man, neatly dressed, walking with a cane. The stranger stopped at the stall. "How much are the oranges?" Alex told him. The man nodded, then quietly said, "You look exactly like your father." Alex froze. The world seemed to stop. Slowly he looked up. The man wasn't smiling anymore. "Who are you?" The elderly man glanced around carefully. "Not here." Alex's pulse thundered. "How do you know my father?" The old man lowered his voice. "I work for him." Alex stared. The man continued. "And if you want to know who killed him..." Every sound in the market disappeared. Every voice. Every movement. Everything. Only those words remained. Who killed him? The old man handed him a folded piece of paper. "Come tonight." Alex looked down. An address. Nothing else. When he looked back up, the old man was already walking away. "Wait." The man didn't stop. "Wait." Still nothing. Within seconds, he disappeared into the crowd. Alex stood motionless, heart pounding. For 20 years, he had searched for answers. And now, someone was offering them. Elsewhere, in a luxurious office in Lagos. The mysterious boss stood beside a massive window overlooking the city. His phone rang. Report. The caller spoke quickly. "We located the girl. And she's becoming close to Alex." The man remained silent. "Should we proceed?" His reflection stared back at him through the glass. Cold, patient, dangerous. After a long pause, he finally spoke. "Not yet." "Sir, if Alex trusts her..." His smile was chilling. "She'll lead us exactly where we need to go." The call ended. The man opened a drawer. Inside was an old photograph. Two young men stood side by side, smiling, best friends, business partners, brothers in everything except blood. One of them was Alex's father. The other was him. Slowly, the man touched the photograph. His expression darkened. Some secret should have stayed buried. Old friend. Then he closed the drawer. And somewhere in Asaba, without realizing it, Alex was walking toward the first real clue in his father's murder, and possibly straight into the deadliest trap of his life. Night arrived slowly. Alex had spent the entire day distracted. Customers spoke to him. He answered automatically. People bought fruits. He barely noticed. His mind remained fixed on one thing: the folded paper, the address, the old man's words. If you want to know who killed him... For 20 years, those answers had remained buried. Now they were within reach. Or so it seemed. By 8 p.m., Alex stood outside a weathered building on the edge of town. The address matched. An abandoned warehouse. His instincts screamed at him. This could be a trap. In fact, it probably was. But if he walked away now, he might lose the only lead he'd had in years. He entered carefully. Darkness surrounded him. The warehouse smelled of rust and old wood. "Hello?" Silence. "Hello?" A voice answered from somewhere inside. "You came." Alex immediately recognized it. The old man. "Where are you?" A flashlight switched on. The elderly man stepped forward. "Relax." Alex didn't. "What do you know about my father?" The old man's expression grew sad. "More than I wish I did." "Then talk." The man studied him. "You look exactly like him when he was angry." Alex's patience snapped. "My father was murdered." "I know. My life has been turned upside down." "I know. People are trying to kill me." The old man nodded. "I know that too." Alex stared, then stopped talking in riddles. The old man sighed. For several moments he said nothing. Then finally, "Your father discovered something." Alex froze. "What?" "A financial network." "What kind of network?" "Money laundering." Alex frowned. "That's what all this is about." The old man shook his head. "No." His eyes darkened. "That was only the beginning." A chill moved through Alex. "What else?" The old man looked around nervously, then lowered his voice. People disappeared. Alex's heartbeat quickened. "What?" "Journalists, whistleblowers, business rivals, government investigators." Alex felt cold. "They were killed." The old man nodded. "Some." "And the others?" "They vanished." The silence fell heavy. "Dangerous." "What did my father discover?" The old man's face tightened. "He discovered who was behind it." Alex stepped closer. "Who?" The old man opened his mouth. Then suddenly, bang! A gunshot shattered the air. The old man's eyes widened. For a second he remained standing. Then blood appeared on his shirt. Alex froze. "No." The old man stumbled backward. Another shot echoed. Glass exploded nearby. Instinct took over. Alex lunged forward. "Get down!" Chaos erupted. More gunfire. The old man collapsed. Alex dragged him behind a stack of crates. The warehouse echoed with footsteps. Multiple people. "Moving in. Hunting. Listen to me." The old man's voice was weak now. Blood stained his lips. "Stay with me?" The man grabbed Alex's shirt. "They know." "Who?" "They know you're close." Alex's heart pounded. "Tell me who killed my father." The old man's eyes filled with urgency. He wasn't one man. "What?" "It was a group." Alex stared. "A group?" The old man nodded weakly. "Powerful men. Business. Politics. Security." Alex felt sick. "Names." The old man's grip tightened. "Your father kept proof." Alex leaned closer. "Where?" "Find." His voice broke. "Find." Another gunshot exploded nearby. The old man's eyes suddenly lost focus. "No." Alex shook him. "No." Nothing. The old man was gone. For a moment the world stood still. Then footsteps approached. Fast. Close. Alex looked up. Shadows moved between the crates. Coming straight toward him. He ran. Outside the warehouse. Rain had started again. Alex burst through a side exit. A black SUV screeched toward him, headlights blinding. He jumped aside just as the vehicle smashed through a fence. The driver immediately turned around. Trying again. Trying to kill him. Alex sprinted into the darkness. Through mud. Through narrow alleys. Through back streets. His lungs burned. His heart thundered. Behind him, engines roared. Then, a motorcycle suddenly stopped beside him. "Get on." Alex looked up. A helmet hid the rider's face. "What?" "Get on if you want to live." The SUV was closing in. Alex had no time. He climbed on. The motorcycle shot forward, disappearing into the rain. Nearly 30 minutes later, the motorcycle finally stopped beneath an unfinished building. Alex climbed off, breathing heavily. The rider removed the helmet. Alex froze. "Victoria." She looked just as shocked. "You." For several seconds, neither spoke. Then realization hit both of them. "You followed me?" Alex asked. Victoria crossed her arms. "I should be asking you that." "What are you talking about?" She pulled out her phone. A photograph appeared on the screen. It showed the elegant woman who had approached her at school. That woman came asking questions about you. Alex's stomach tightened. Victoria continued. I knew something wasn't right. So I followed one of the men watching you. Alex stared. You what? They led me to the warehouse. Victoria, are you insane? She glared. And you're not. For first time in days, despite the danger, Alex almost laughed. The absurdity of it all. Then his expression darkened. The old man is dead. Victoria's face fell. What? He knew something about my father. Silence. Rain drummed against the concrete. Finally, Victoria spoke softly. What did he tell you? Alex looked away. He said my father wasn't killed by one person. Victoria frowned. What does that mean? Alex's voice was quiet. It means I've been hunting the wrong enemy. Lightning flashed across the sky, and for the first time, Alex realized he wasn't fighting one murderer. He was fighting an entire organization, one powerful enough to kill witnesses, sabotage companies, manipulate police investigations, and possibly control people at the highest levels of society. The war had just become much bigger than he imagined, and now, whether he wanted it or not, Victoria was standing beside him in the middle of it. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Rain hammered the unfinished building. Water dripped from broken concrete beams. Victoria leaned against a pillar, trying to process everything. A whole organization? Alex nodded slowly. That's what he said. And they've been hunting you all this time? Apparently. Victoria looked away. The reality of it all was terrifying. This wasn't some personal dispute. This wasn't a business rivalry. People had died. People were still dying. The old man's blood flashed through Alex's mind. A witness silenced seconds before revealing the truth. Victoria noticed a change in his expression. You knew this would happen, didn't you? Alex looked at her. What? The danger? The threats? The people following you? Her eyes filled with frustration. You knew. Alex didn't answer immediately, because she was right. I didn't want anyone else involved. Victoria laughed bitterly. That's funny. Why? Because I got involved anyway. Neither of them spoke after that. The truth hung heavily between them. Elsewhere, the black SUV finally stopped inside a gated compound. 3 men stepped out. One immediately made a phone call. He escaped. The voice on the other end remained calm. How? Someone helped him. Silence. Then, who? We're not sure. We have photos. Send them. The man immediately forwarded the images. Several seconds passed. Then the voice spoke again. Cold, measured, dangerous, interesting. What is it, sir? The girl. You know her? No. A pause. But I know her mother. The men exchanged looks. The caller continued. Send me everything you have on Victoria Ada. The line disconnected. For the first time, even the men carrying out the orders felt uneasy, because their boss rarely sounded surprised. Tonight he had. The next morning, Victoria woke after barely 2 hours of sleep. The events of the previous night felt unreal. Gunshots, a dead witness, people chasing Alex, an organization connected to murder. Part of her wanted to walk away, forget everything, return to teaching, return to a normal life. But another part of her couldn't, because she had seen fear in Alex's eyes. Not fear for himself, fear for others. Fear that innocent people would be hurt because of him. And somehow that mattered. At school, Victoria tried focusing on her students. It wasn't easy. Teacher? Yes. Why are you staring at the wall? The classroom burst into laughter. Victoria blinked. Apparently, she had been daydreaming for nearly a minute. Thank you, Chitty. The boy grinned proudly. You're welcome. The class laughed again. For a few moments, the children helped her forget. Then the principal appeared at the classroom door. Victoria. Her smile vanished immediately. The principal looked concerned. Can I see you for a moment? Victoria stepped outside. What happened? The principal hesitated. Someone came looking for you. Victoria's stomach tightened. A man? Yes. What did he want? He asked questions about your family. Fear immediately crept into her chest. My family? The principal nodded. Your mother? Your hometown? How long you've worked here? Victoria's blood ran cold. Meanwhile, Alex returned to market. Normality was his only protection now. The fruit stall, the customers, the ordinary routines. He needed to disappear inside them, but his mind remained occupied. The organization, Victoria, the old man's final words. Your father kept proof. Proof. Somewhere, evidence still existed. Evidence powerful enough to terrify people 20 years later. But where? His father's office? No. His mansion? Already searched. The company? Maybe. Then suddenly, a memory surfaced. Small, forgotten, buried deep. Alex froze. His father's study. A wooden globe. A conversation years ago. He had been a child, maybe 10 years old. His father had smiled and said, "Some treasures aren't meant to be found quickly." At the time, it sounded like a joke. Now, Alex wasn't so sure. That evening, Barrister Ade arrived secretly in Asaba. The moment Alex opened the motel door, the lawyer stepped inside. "You look terrible." "Good to see you, too." Barrister Ade didn't smile. This isn't funny anymore. Alex knew he was right. The lawyer placed a folder on the table. "We identified another name." Alex immediately focused. "Who?" The lawyer opened the file. Inside were photographs, documents, financial records, and one face. Alex stared. His entire body went still. "No." The lawyer nodded grimly. "I'm afraid so." Alex couldn't believe it, because the man in the photograph wasn't just a business associate. He wasn't just connected to his father. The man had practically been family, a regular visitor, a trusted friend, someone Alex had called uncle. The lawyer spoke quietly. "He attended your father's funeral." Alex remembered the tears, the speeches, the promises, the sympathy, all of it. A lie. His hands clenched. "How deep does this go?" Barrister Ade looked exhausted. "Deeper than we thought." Then he slid one final photograph across the table. Alex looked down and froze again, this time for a completely different reason. Because standing beside the suspect in the photograph, taken years ago, was someone else. Someone he recognized instantly. Someone completely unexpected. Someone connected to Victoria's family. The room suddenly felt very small, very quiet. The lawyer's voice barely rose above a whisper. "Alex." He looked up slowly. This may not be a coincidence. And for the first time, Alex began to suspect that his arrival in Asaba, his meeting with Victoria, and the murder of his father 20 years ago might all be connected by a secret far older than either of them knew. See you in the next.